giving a talk with my son sitting next to me. He's a leader in UCLA Hillel and serves on the board. And so UCLA Hillel has a spot near and dear to my heart. And I'm really grateful for the role that it's played serving as a home away from home for Jonah during college, though of course here during COVID, he's studying right here at this dining room table where we're sitting. Anyway, but I'm really grateful to be with you. And I know you're going to be diving into giving circles. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about the role of philanthropy and giving in Jewish life, and really about you all thinking about yourselves as philanthropists now and in the future. So on a personal note, giving has always been central to our family and to the values that we have tried to instill. And since Jonah and his two older sisters were very little, we really focused on tzedakah and giving back. And they had to pull toys at Hanukkah. They had to pull toys out of the toy box and give them to people who needed them more than them. And then as soon as they were really ready, instead of giving them Hanukkah presents, we gave them tzedakah money to give away and to learn how to allocate to local and national organizations and to organizations in Israel. So they've been doing that since they've been very little. On a professional level, I worked in the Jewish nonprofit sector for 15 years before joining the Schusterman Foundation. And I'm about to celebrate 19 years at the Schusterman Foundation. So you can see how old I am. But I'm now a co-president, and I oversee our US and a lot of our global Jewish giving. And I also have launched a new portfolio for gender and reproductive equity, which is very exciting. So, I mean, my role in philanthropy is really to try to find and support solutions to the current challenges our community and our broader society faces. And our foundation is from a family that is deeply rooted in Jewish values. And from that place, we not only work on Jewish life in Israel, but we also work on education reform in the United States, criminal justice reform, voting rights, democracy in Israel, social services like preventing child abuse and domestic abuse in Israel, and much more. But our philanthropy is really about developing strategies to make systemic change and to make people's lives better. And we're fortunate to be able to give millions of dollars of grants every year to help organizations repair the world and build more equitable and inclusive and vibrant communities. And I do this not just because I'm passionate about the causes we support, but I really believe that this is the best way to make a tangible impact on individual lives and on individual communities. And I really, over all of these years, have seen how giving and investing in smart ways can transform individuals, it can transform communities, and it can surface all kinds of new and creative opportunities. For example, when I started at the Schusterman Foundation, many of the Jewish organizations that exist today that we've come to know and love did not exist. And now they're staples of our community, from Moishe House to Repair the World to One Table to Tamid and Amplifier and many, many more. Career Up. All of these organizations that did not exist, we were able to help provide support to launch and to scale and to impact many, many people across the country, because we saw that they would create meaningful opportunities for people to engage with Jewish life and with Jewish values. So to me, what philanthropy is really all about is believing in something and then making it possible. And I will say that Lynn Schusterman's favorite line is, "We make it possible, you make it happen." Arya's heard the line before. Hi, Arya. So that's really what it's all about. So I want to share just a few important ways that philanthropy is impacting, I think, the Jewish community and society. First, I feel like giving is the best way that we can express and live out our Jewish values and our deepest values. You all just did an exercise talking about values. And I think some of you probably know tzedakah is loosely translated as charity, but the root of it is the word tzedek and justice. And I think this distinction is really vital. I see the work that you all are doing in giving and that we're doing, it's not just charity. It is because we're bringing greater justice and greater fairness into the world and making it a better place than when we found it. And so to me, tzedek and tzedakah are really the backbones of tikkun olam, repairing the world, which I see as the purpose of the Jewish people. So tzedakah and giving philanthropy is really core. And the Talmud tells us that tzedakah is equally important as all the other mitzvot put together. So you know how crucial it is to who we are as Jews, as a people. Second, giving is really one of the most effective ways to shape the future you want to see. And I understand that a lot of you are interested in pursuing careers in Jewish communal life, but really no matter what the change is that you want to see, donations are not gifts, they're investments. They're investments in creating a better future and in impacting people's lives. So whatever cause you care about, whatever change you want to make, by giving and by giving wisely and thoughtfully and hopefully generously, you are actually helping shape the future that you want to see for yourselves and for your children. So it's an amazing tool. And since you're going to be doing collective giving, I want to just say a word about collective giving, because it has the potential to really create an exponential impact. We can give as individuals, and that makes a huge difference, and what one person can do is a lot. But as I always like to say, even Bill Gates cannot solve malaria alone, and we need to leverage our giving by collaborating with others. And doing it collectively. That's what the federation model is about, and it's what partnership is all about. And those people who are making the most impact, the most systemic change with their giving, are often doing it collectively with others. And I know you're learning about Amplifier and giving circles. I'm proud to say I was one of the people who came up with this idea and launched it in partnership with Felicia Herman of Natan. Because we saw it as an effective tool to get more Jewish giving out there and more leverage giving out there. And we also thought that it would be more appealing for young adults and young people to do sort of a social and fun kind of giving activity together, to be learning together and giving together in a way that would make their dollars have much more impact. And we have learned, there was this report done in 2019, that giving circles have tripled over the last decade. Speaking of Gates, they actually have invested in Amplifier and in building out giving circles all across the country for all different kinds of groups. And so I'm thrilled that you all are engaging in this giving circle, because it's a way to not only have fun and learn about different causes and share with each other, but really to magnify the impact that you can have. I feel like giving is becoming, well, I was going to say giving is becoming more democratic. It's also becoming less democratic. But giving circles are a way to democratize philanthropy by giving a lot more people a voice in making decisions about where funds are going. It leverages your dollars and increases your impact on the causes you give to. And it's a great way to build collaborations that, are for the immediate giving circle, but also future collaborations that can be even bigger and better. And we've seen that play out across the world through giving circles that Amplifier has helped spark and support. So my call to action is that you should start really thinking of yourselves as philanthropists now. No matter how young you are, no matter how much you can give, you are a philanthropist, and you need to own this identity and own your potential to have an impact through your giving. I think there's a common misconception that a philanthropist is really just like a fancy word for billionaire, but that's really not true. Anyone can be a philanthropist. Your giving has power. No matter how big, no matter how small, every single dollar matters, especially right now. So by doing this giving circle, by the philanthropy that you engage in, either professionally or personally, you are exercising and strengthening your giving muscles. And that will help you do a lot more now and in the future. Secondly, giving is really important to fundraising. And I know a lot of people hate fundraising. They're intimidated by it. They think it's yucky. They don't want to ask somebody else to give. It's uncomfortable. But the fact is, whether you decide to go into Jewish communal life or become a philanthropist yourself because you've made it in business or whatever else, no matter what field you're in, you're going to have to secure funds. You're going to have to raise money. That is just the way the world works. And it's what you need to do. So by practicing now to inspire others to give to the causes you care about, you're going to be honing a truly essential skill for any walk of life that you pursue. So I believe, and I have learned over many years, both raising money, giving money, that fundraising is really not a drag. I like to think of it as a gift. I like to think of it as offering people an opportunity to really make a difference and to feel great about the impact that they're making. So if you can flip it in your mind like that, I think it really makes a big difference. And finally, I think it's really important to give with a sense, to give smart, but to give with a sense of urgency. It's important to start giving early and give as generously as possible, but right now, especially at this time of crisis, the need to give big and give urgently could not be more pressing. I don't think I have to tell any of you that the COVID crisis has created unprecedented hardship in the Jewish community, across our country, across our globe. It's heartbreaking just hearing about all of my colleagues who've been laid off, about people who are, struggling to pay their rent and to eat and to get the proper medical care and all of that. And of course, in our country, this disproportionately is affecting women of color, people with disabilities, low-income families, incarcerated people. Those who are most vulnerable are even more vulnerable now. And that means we have an obligation to provide support and to make sure that they can have dignity during this really difficult time. So I say this not to be depressing, but to say that this is a really challenging and unprecedented time, but it's also an opportunity. I really see this as an all hands on deck moment for the Jewish community and for anyone who's engaged in giving, and a time to really rethink our priorities, but how we behave as givers and as philanthropists, and to bring new approaches. And as an example of that, and as an example of the power of collective giving in moments like this, I worked with a couple other foundations in the Jewish community. We now are up to 8 other foundations, and we've created a collective giving fund called the Jewish Community Response and Impact Fund. And we will be giving out over $90 million in interest-free loans and in grants to Jewish organizations who are struggling to make it through this crisis. And I will tell you that it's not always easy to do it together, but our impact is going to be so much more and so highly leveraged because we are bringing together the power of people who normally would never work together to serve the future of the Jewish community and to think about it. It's not business as usual. We cannot do business as usual. And I feel like there's a time now to think more creatively about the future we want to see on the other side of this, and how we can work together and how we can focus on serving people who are the most vulnerable and creating a more inclusive and equitable and vibrant Jewish community on the other side of this crisis. So that's really some of the thinking I wanted to share in advance of this. I think that by participating in this program and in this giving circle tonight, you are helping shape our future by supporting causes that matter and by flexing your muscles as philanthropists. And so I'll just close with a piece of Jewish wisdom that inspires me in my work. And that's from the book of Isaiah, which says, "The work of tzedakah brings peace." And I know right now, peace and normalcy and, what the future is going to look like seems a long way off. But I really believe that each and every one of you, and all of us has a part to play in making sure that the future on the other side of this is stronger and vibrant through the giving that you're doing today. So thank you for including me, and I hope this helps inspire you a little bit as you do your giving circles tonight.
Lisa, thank you so much. I mean, I'm inspired, and just watching the faces of others that are on in this Zoom, in this virtual space, it was really eye-opening. I would love to open up to 1 or 2 questions, if we may, and Lisa, if you're okay with that.
Sure. Absolutely.
Amazing. Who, I think, let me jump over and see if there's a thing that says reactions, and you can actually raise your hand. And whoever would like to raise their hands to ask Lisa, or you could just like literally raise your hand if that's easier. Wow.
No question.
Oh, cool. Mark, hey. Okay, you're up, man.
Hi. Hi, how are you? First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and talking to us, and it's inspiring to just hear everything, and your journey as well, and being there for 19, 20 years, you really you must have seen so much and so many amazing things and transformations as well, which is obviously you're there today as well, so it's you obviously really must have had an amazing journey. I think that one of the questions I wanted to ask was, what is the most poignant part of that whole journey of all that time? What is the one thing that you really saw that you stepped back and were like, wow, how it changed someone's life? And I know there's probably so many across the board, but was there ever one that really stood out and you just thought, wow, that's you really changed people's lives more than just in general?
Wow, it is so. It's like asking.
Big question. I'm so sorry.
Right? It's like what is the thing you gave to that gave you the most? I'm going to answer something a little bit different from that, because I've seen a lot, and I'm looking at Arya because there are 2 projects that I was involved in that I'm really, really proud of. And one of them is called Leading Up North, and the second was called Start South, and Arya helped plan Start South, which was during it was, I think, the Second Lebanon War in Israel, and there were rockets raining down on northern Israel, and the forests were all burned down, and people were living in shelters. And we organized an operation called Leading Up North, and we brought 700 Jewish college students and young adults from all around the world, 17 countries, to Israel to volunteer. And they spent 2 weeks, clearing forests, painting shelters, entertaining the people in the north who had been living in the shelters. We did a big music festival, and then we repeated it again a number of years later with Starting Up South when the Gaza war happened, and similar situation. And that was very powerful because it was like just jumping into action. How can we help? How can we mobilize as many young people as possible to really roll up their sleeves and do good and work together as a global Jewish community to be there for Israel? But it also led to the creation of Repair the World, because we saw the power of service and a lot of other things. So I'm really proud of those, and just seeing Arya's face helped me think of that. But I got to tell you, I'm the most proud, honestly, of the work that we have been doing during this crisis. Because right as it started, everyone, and I'm a co-president, we have 3 co-presidents because we have a huge education reform agenda. We have a I mentioned a few of the areas that we work in and our work in Israel, but we sprung into action. And Stacy Schusterman, who is the philanthropist and the daughter of Lynn Schusterman, who I've worked for many years, has been so incredibly nimble and generous. She has given away so much money in the last 2 months to people who are just, desperately in need, to kids who got all their meals through school lunch and now aren't at school. And we've arranged for them to get their school lunch money put on their SNAP cards. We've been doing direct cash assistance to people to make sure they can pay their rent and eat. We've been getting PPE to healthcare professionals all around the world. We've done tons of social service work in Israel and in the United States, supporting low-income communities of color, supporting the Jewish community, elderly homes, Holocaust survivors. Gift of Life is one of our partners. We just made sure that all of the bone marrow transplants that were going to get put on hold because of restrictions were able to happen. So I feel like I'm really proud that we're sort of doing the best, I think the best of philanthropy right now, which is like, look at the most important needs. Don't worry about metrics. Don't worry about strategy. Just step up and go as big as you can and help people who really need help in the moment of crisis and help get to the other side. So there's a nimbleness, and people talk a lot about strategic philanthropy and deliberate and outcomes and measurement and all of that. But in moments like this, I think it just shows what people are made of and what their values are. And I feel fortunate that I work for somebody who is just willing to put a lot on the line to help people who are the most, vulnerable in this moment. And so I guess that's what I'm the most proud of.
Well, thank you. I think that was like an amazing answer. And I will always ask the question of what are you most proud of in the future? Because that was, I learned a lot.
It's amazing. Well, I want to thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us tonight and sharing your wisdom and inspiring us, and having such a wonderful son in Jonah.
I'm most proud of Jonah.
And just thank you. And now I'm going to, if everyone can give a little round of applause or sparkles or whatever people do. And
thank you for indulging me, and thank you to Jonah for joining and being an amazing son. We're going to hop off.
All the best. Perfect.
All right. Take care. Good luck.
Thank you. So the next part of the evening that we're going to go into now is the next set of breakout rooms. And this part is actually going to be super exciting because what you're going to do with the breakout rooms that we were in before is I'm actually going to share the screen and walk you through this component so that everybody's prepared for it. So can everyone see the thing that says Jewish philanthropic values right now? Okay, cool. So this one right here is, with this collective giving, you're actually like a team of 3 or 4 in your group, and you're going to now decide over the next about 7 minutes how you as a group want to give when you get your grants in a little bit, and we're going to award the $500 to one of those organizations that everybody on the call today is going to vote and decide. So there's 2 ways here. So the first way is, do you want to give locally? And locally, for the case of Jewishly, means Israel included, or do you want to give globally? And globally primarily means non-Jewish and in Africa or other places, but like Jews also fall, like let's say with like Ethiopian Jews that are in Ethiopia, they also are considered to be local because they're like family, and family is considered local. The second way is, do you prefer to give to Jews only, or do you want to give to everyone? And then you as a group will discuss and decide. And then do you want to give to immediate needs like COVID and other things that are going on? Or do you want to continue to stay the course and fund long-term change? So what you're going to do is you're going to find primarily, just ignore the part like 1 through 10. So your group profile will be essentially something like, we want to give locally to everyone. And well, I'm going to change it. We want to give locally to Jews and to long-term, or whatever your group decides. There's no right or wrong answers. And you're going to have a minute in advance notice to wrap up and finish. So can I get a thumbs up if that makes sense? And it'll also, the folks, our delightful mentors will be facilitating that. So let me make sure all the groups are set up. They are, and I'm going to open all the rooms now. See you in a bit.
So I've always been a volunteer, which I think is how a lot of these things start. You start volunteering, and then your passion builds for a cause. And then when you get to the position where you can start, giving money, which in my case was very, very young in life, wasn't a lot of money, but it was money. I have a very strong feeling about philanthropy in that I feel that sometimes people are intimidated, which is what Lisa sort of said about the word philanthropist. But my journey has been a really uplifting one. I am a convert, but I've been Jewish longer than I was non-Jewish. And my world has been so filled up with great things since I started becoming involved in giving money and supporting causes. And my passion for the things I do is what drives me. I'm very involved in the Jewish Federation and have been for a long time. And I love the way they do their work. And I've been able to see a lot of it in action, both here and around the world. I also am, passionate about Save a Child's Heart. I'm passionate about Career Up Now. There's a lot of things that I feel great passion for. And I think that what I feel about this subject is that we spend time taking care of our bodies and our health, and we hopefully are eating right and working out and doing the things we need to do. And we take care of our minds by studying and reading and learning. But for me, the way I take care of my soul is in what I do for other people. And it feeds my soul and it makes me feel like a whole person, that everything's in place now, because this gives me so much feeling of good. So that's pretty much my story and why I do what I do. And I'm very interested in meeting other people who are philanthropists. I'm on the National Women's Philanthropy Board, and I love hearing from women all over our country about why they do what they do. And there's some pretty amazing work going on. I was just saying in our group that after listening to Lisa, I feel like an ant, a little ant crawling along, because the work is just astounding what's going on in our world. And I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Cathy. That was, I'm so inspired, and I appreciate you every day. Who would, Ellen, I'm going to call on you. Yeah. You are unmuted. Okay, great.
I'm muted now. Okay. I actually wrote some notes about things I've learned in 30 plus years of being a philanthropist. And I think a lot of it has been said, so I'll be as brief as I can. But I think these are what are the most important. Know what's important to you, what your values are, and finding people who you can partner with. I mean, it's better together. It's better together. And Cathy, you are by no means an ant. You are whatever. Morgan's really into dinosaurs, but you know what? A lot of ants make a lot of noise also. So I think that's really important. And as I said, together we're better. Understanding and respecting other people's ideas help you see more clearly and know what you want to do. Live your values every day. You don't have to think about them then if you're living them. So be true to yourself. We've all talked about passion. Be passionate, but also intentional. Suzanne said something earlier about friend raising and making decisions based on friends and where you want to be. But I think as you move through your philanthropic journey, you realize that your mission should be clear and that you don't have to please your friends and go where everybody else is going. Do what you want to do with other people and you'll feel better. And make your participation meaningful, whatever that means to you, however much it is. If it's your time, if it's your resources, it's your connections, it's your money. Make it meaningful so that when you come home, you don't feel like you've wasted time. I used to sit in a lot of meetings and some people said, how do you do that? I said, but when I walk out of the meeting, I feel like I've been inspired by the people, their ideas, and what the action ultimately will be. So those are kind of what I've learned. And then just a little bit more about me, just to show you the varied things that I've tried to do. I like to partner with like-minded, mostly women, but not only, who see a problem and they want to be part of the solution. My journey has included work in large organizations like the Jewish Federation and Jewish Family Service, helping existing groups reactivate themselves, reimagine themselves, and as well as leading a multicultural, multi-faith startup to receiving its 501c3 charitable designation and to helping establish it in the community. So my interests are varied, but at the end of the day, I've always felt like I've made a difference. And also that's the model I want to behave. I want to model that behavior for my children and my community. So that's a little bit about me.
Ellen,
You're welcome.
thank you. That's also super inspiring. And just the humility that both you and Cathy and all the other folks, all the other mentors for the evening is really inspiring, because as a nonprofit professional, you know, like sometimes we look at the philanthropists as being like pseudo gods because they have the money to enable us as nonprofit professionals to do what we do. And just the way you present is such a partnership and with so much humility. So all of y'all, so thank you. Now we have next. So Jacki, would you be so kind?
Hi. Yeah, so I'm kind of in the beginning of my philanthropy journey still. My husband and I have supported two major causes, the Jewish Federation and then KIPP charter schools. And I think the way I approach philanthropy is I always think to myself, how do I want to see the world? Like, will this organization change the world in a positive way that I would like to see? And can that have a lasting impact? Because I think sometimes there are so many organizations out there that can do so much good, but and if you had endless dollars and endless time, you could be a part of all those organizations, right? But you don't. You have to really choose what you want to support, whether that's your time or your dollars. And to me, I like to think about, will my impact have a lasting change? And so when I got involved with the Federation, and specifically New Roots, which was about what I mentioned before in my introduction, which is about reconnecting Jews with their Judaism, that I saw not just helping those Jews, but it's helping future generations, because from our New Roots projects, we've seen two people who were completely non-affiliated, were actually both attached to non-Jewish people and who didn't want to be part of a Jewish community at all, and didn't want to convert. And then they ended up matching up with each other. And now I believe the last I heard is they're, expecting a child. So it continued into the next generation. And so it was like, when I got that report that had happened, that they had reconnected with their Jewish values and who they were, and that had kind of changed the whole trajectory of their life. It was so inspiring to know that my support of that organization had changed a whole generation, and that was really impactful for me. I also like to think about when can you make a difference? Can you being involved? Can your $5 or your 500, your 5,000 or your 5 million? Can that make a difference when you give, or will you just be a drop in the bucket and they won't really you won't personally be able to see your impact? And I think that's really important, especially when you're starting out in your philanthropy journey. Everybody wants to see their impact. No one wants to just give, give all their time or give their money and not see any results and not feel like they're doing something, because you want to feel like what you've done changes the world for in a better way, and you want to feel like that organization is taking your impact and your time or your money and doing something with that. And so I think it's really important to think about the lasting effects or the lasting impact that you can have, whether that's volunteering or giving a donation, but the power of that organization. And it doesn't have to be a big organization. It could be very small. I think Laurel was telling me about a women's shelter in California that she had given some money to. And that's a very small organization, but she had a big impact. And I think that's really impactful, you know, to think that it's really momentous to feel like you can see that you have given time, given money, and it made a difference.
Wow. That was really powerful. I think also, especially because as we're going to the next piece of this evening, I feel like that will also shape how people think. So the place where we're going now, which is the really exciting part, is every group has 3 organizational grant one-pagers that you're going to be reviewing, and I'm going to share the sheet with you. And the part that is really magical about this is that I actually put out on Facebook and a few different Jewish nonprofit groups, what's called a call for proposals. So I sent out a message saying, we're doing a giving circle and we're going to be giving away $500. And if anyone's doing something in the area of Jewish nonprofits, or if anyone needs the $500 now, to send me a one-pager about what you're doing, how it relates to COVID-19, and why it's so important to give. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen with you and jump into the part so that you can see what your profiles are going to look like. And then it's inside of the Google document. Can everyone see the Google document? Great, awesome. So I have named them at the top. It says Laura's group, Laura's group, Laura's group, and then that's 3. And then the next one is Suzanne's group, Suzanne's group, Suzanne's group. And so I'm going to ask that you look at those and then think in terms of what was that collective giving profile that you decided together. And you know, the really interesting part is together as a group, that's kind of what you decided to give to. But I have a feeling that there's also going to be some conversations around whether or not these exactly line up with it and what is actually happening with how do you make those decisions. And the place that I'm going to challenge you to think is be entrepreneurial, be creative, and follow your hearts. I'm sure that's very much the advice that's going to be given in for y'all, Cathy's group. And then what you're going to do is you're going to, after reviewing these, it'll be about 7 to 10 minutes. And then you have to decide one organization that you want to represent. And then you have to decide one person in your group that's going to speak for 1 minute. There's a lot of ones here, for 1 minute, and pitch that group or pitch that organization to all of the other groups. And when we get to that point, well, before we do the voting, we're going to hear from Laura. But what we're going to end up doing is we're going to vote on which organization should get the $500, and we'll end up doing that in the chat. So without further ado, Arya, am I missing anything?
You've got it all. Everything to go.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. People don't often tell me I got it all. So like, there we go. I'm going to now send y'all into your breakout group. So we will see you very soon. And then also, just to make it even, everybody's breakout groups has 3, including the facilitator, and Noel had to jump. So I appreciate all of you staying until the end, but actually that was a good thing because it makes the group even, and the votes will be even at the end as well. So we will see you in about 7 to 10 minutes.
I'll try to make this quick for, in the essence for time, but I also, like Ellen, made a couple notes. So if I look down, please excuse that. But I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I grew up in a philanthropic family. My father was involved in the Jewish Federation and the Guardians of the Jewish Home. And I really consider him to be my first teacher and my first mentor. It's really where I learned about philanthropy. Personally, I've always been drawn to Jewish philanthropies. It just seems to be where my heart is. I have been involved in other places, but I kind of always get tugged back in that direction. I started my journey in the world of philanthropy when I left home for college, began giving an annual donation to the Jewish Federation. I remember it was $50. It was $50 for many, many, many years. But that was my, my entry in. And from there, my portfolio has just continued to grow. I became more involved on a leadership level when I became a parent. It was important for me to pass on to my children my belief in giving back to my community and to communities around the world. And I felt like the best way that I could do that, and the best way that I could give that to them was to show them and to do it myself. So I kind of stepped up my game at that point and went from just being a donor to being involved into building my sense of leadership. I've been involved with various philanthropies since that first donation. Currently, I'm involved with the Jewish Federation, the Jewish Home for the Aging, Hillel 818, University Women of American Jewish University, Pico Union Project, and Save a Child's Heart. I'm most drawn to organizations that support young people and people in need. I feel like that's where I can have the greatest impact and bestow the greatest amount of change. So also for me, my involvement in philanthropy, it's been an avenue to see the world. I've traveled and met people and broadened. This has helped me like broaden my understanding of humanity and helped me formulate where my connections were and how and where I wanted to give. I've visited communities and homes of people in need, and that's had a huge impact in my life. It's been one of my strongest calls to action and one of the most motivating reasons that I give. I'm a big believer, it sounds a little cliche, but I'm a big believer that one person can change the world. I believe that every time we touch another, that touch creates a ripple effect. And one change begets another change, and that just kind of continues on and on. That being said, I've worked with people along the way on both sides, the giving and the receiving side, and those people have been my greatest inspiration. Several of you are here in this, sharing this evening with us. And for me, I feel that when I give, I expose a piece of my heart, and there's a give and a take to that that I'm convinced can heal the world. So that's a little bit about me and my motivation.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, thank you. So we are actually, we're coming to a speed ending, which is going to be like bim, bam, boom. So here's the next part. Everyone's limited to 1 minute to pitch their organization, which is going to put us at 28 after, then 28, 29. Then we're going to do a very quick vote. And then we're actually going to hold off on, we're gonna allow folks that want to stay a little bit longer. We're going to do some last words of advice. So without further ado, I'm going to ask, I'm just going to call out, I'd like for the representative from Suzanne's group to now present.
Oh man, that's me. 1 minute. Okay, I'm gonna talk really fast. So the one that we unanimously agreed upon was the schoolhouse, which was amazing, and it was so cool to have Suzanne's endorsement. So this is an organization that gives education to Sudanese refugees who have a wide age range, 18 to 50 years old, who wouldn't have access to education otherwise. Aaron in our group made a really interesting point that this could also help Israelis. We were talking about in our vision of the 3 categories, we wanted global and Israel and everyone, and this is helping lots of different people and Israelis. I'm a teacher. Education is so, so important. It opens so many doors. To Jacki's few points, she made some really great points. You know, thinking of a lasting impact, when you have access to education, think of how many more people those people can then help when they have education. Also thinking that this is a really specific organization and we could really see how far our dollar would go for them. And we all felt that it was the best one of our 3.
Excellent, perfect, 1 minute.
Okay. Oh.
Next up,
I wish I had more time. Okay.
we have Cathy's group. Ready?
Hi. Yes.
1 minute, I got the timer.
Awesome. Okay, so we chose 18 Doors. Cathy, Aria, Jason, and I. Our philanthropic values were more focused locally, focused on giving to everyone, and focused on giving immediate needs. 18 Doors is an interfaith, independent, nonprofit organization that focuses on providing online resources to families. They've been doing great stuff during COVID, which we find really important because this time, as we mentioned earlier, is really urgent to be helping those in need. And the communities rely on them, and they really appreciate the support, and we really resonate with their message.
Wow. That was super fast. Okay, way to go. The next group, Karmi's group.
Okay, I guess I'll pick one for the team. Okay, so we chose Voice Against Child Sexual Abuse. It's a group that supports and those that have great achievements in combating child sexual abuse in the global Jewish community with very limited resources. Personally, I touched upon it because I have seen many stories within my community of, I guess, those who have more power, such as rabbis, who have sexually abused and assaulted people within my community. So for me, it was more a personal touch. And yeah, I don't know if Tondo wants to add anything to it as well, but yeah.
So one of the reasons we decided to go with that for many reasons. That was one of them, and they're all great causes, but we ultimately decided, where can we make the most impact? And we realized that a lot of these things, some of these other groups have support in other areas, they already had like much larger platforms, and these are areas where we can help globally and locally. We can help people everywhere, and
Tondo, I'm going to
it's a great way to give a voice to the voiceless, I guess.
I'm going to cut you off. That was beautiful. Okay, here we go. Next up is Laura's group.
Yeah, so in our group, it's me, Laura, and Mark, and we decided upon EDGAR 36. So I'll read their mission statement. It's a Jewish educational nonprofit dedicated to inspiring and empowering people to repair the world by getting involved in political and social activism. So really what they do is they have like experiential summer programs for teenagers where they take them throughout different states throughout America and teach them about how to get involved in social activism and political things, as well as tying their Jewish identities into it.
Beautiful. Wow, that was super good. Okay, so the next one is Jacki's group.
Hi, so we decided on Hollow for Hunger. Hollow for Hunger is a national organization, but they supply chapters at different universities and other schools across the country where college students can build leadership skills, can build philanthropy skills, can build nonprofit management skills. And then together with members of their community, they bake challahs and then sell the challahs to their community, take the proceeds and put it back into helping end student food insecurity on their own campuses or in their cities and communities. And so it's really about empowering future leaders, providing immediate needs to college students who are often under, I don't know how to say it, like a cause that we often don't think about. And it's all about advocacy and building the next generation of sustainable leaders.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And the last group is Ellen's group.
We decided upon Save a Child's Heart. Save a Child's Heart is an Israeli-based international nonprofit organization with the mission of improving the quality of pediatric cardiac care for children in developing countries and then creating centers of competence in those countries to continue treatment. Save a Child's Heart, it's a life-saving organization that takes immediate action as opposed to organizations that might help sustain life after the fact. And right now, this is very necessary because children still need medical treatment during the time of coronavirus and self-isolation. So Save a Child's Heart is how these children can get the help that they need. And right now it's dangerous to get medical treatment because of coronavirus. So it's more important than ever to invest in a wonderful organization such as Save a Child's Heart that's providing life for those that need help sustaining theirs. And this treatment allows children to have the life that they deserve and in countries that might not have the current resources. So we thought this was a great organization to invest in.
Amazing. Love that. So now we are right on time. There should be a poll that I've created in the, can people see the poll by chance? So what you're going to do is you can only select Is that a yes or no or maybe?
Not yet.
No, okay.
In the chat?
So what we're going to do, oh yeah, for sure, there is. Okay, so if you click, can you see polling? Oh, launch poll, I have to actually launch it. Okay, so you can only pick an organization that's not your organization. So the organization that is the winner is Challah for Hunger. Wow, way to go, bravo everyone. And that's the end of the evening. For those that have, and then we'll award $500 to Challah for Hunger. Actually, I know Rebecca Barr, the executive director, she'll be thrilled. And what we're gonna do real fast, if we could, is I think we have like a minute or two left. So even though we don't, but whatever, if each of the mentors could share one word or value that you want the young people on emerging professionals on the call to take away with them from this evening. So we get one word and that'll be our closing. And then I'll also send a follow-up email to everyone with the contact information so y'all can stay in touch with each other. So without further ado, Ellen.
Passion.
Karmi.
Focus.
Amazing. Cathy. Oh wait, you're muted.
Muted. Caring.
Jacki.
Future.
And Suzanne.
I think Jacki kind of said it. Hope.
And Laura.
Inspire.
I love that. I want to thank everyone for joining us for this Philanthropy Career Up Now. And I'm going to encourage everyone, if there was an organization that you were particularly passionate about that wasn't funded by this, there's so many ways to advance organizations, sharing on social media, volunteering your time, reaching out to them, or even giving of your own philanthropy, $1, $18, everything makes a huge difference for these organizations. If you're interested in connecting with any of them, I know all of the executive directors, so very happy to connect y'all. And thank you so much for participating. And I know Aria and I'll hang back with whoever wants to. Thank you so much to our mentors. If we can give them a round of applause. This is something that I know will stick with all of us for many years to come and will truly advance the way that our next generation thinks about philanthropy. So I want to wish everyone it's not an early Shabbat Shalom, so I guess it's still Shavua Tov. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Bradley, can I just say one quick thing?
Yeah, totally.
First of all, kudos to you. Again, I'm on the board of Career Up Now, and kudos to you for putting this together tonight. I also wanted to honor those students that showed up, because I believe that 99% of this work is about opting in. And so in honor of all of these students who are here tonight, our foundation will give $500 to each of the organizations that are presented here.
Wow.
I don't want anybody to walk away feeling, as though an organization is not receiving tonight because of the good work that we did on this call. And so I want to make sure that you as students know that sometimes you got to step up, even when there are organizations that don't win the prize, right? So I want you to know that the other organizations will also receive $500.
That's
Wow.
beautiful. Thank you.
There's like tears in my eye. And
It's easy to say no and not participate. It's harder to be here.
Suzanne, thank
Thank
you.
you.
And I want to end with thanking our board member as well, Cathy Guccione, who this was the reason that she joined Career Up Now's board, was for the desire to educate the next generation on philanthropy and for engaging your friends and for really believing in the vision, the shared vision that we have. So thank you so much, Cathy. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Jacki. And thank you, Karmi. And I wish everyone a wonderful night. We'll stay back. Thank you, Suzanne. That is crazy generous of you. That's so exciting.